Zara's cryopod crashed into Earth's dense forest, her body aching from the impact as she crawled out, disoriented and lost in this strange new world. Stripped of her royal status and the advanced technology of her home planet, Zara found herself alone in a world that was both alien and beautiful. As she stumbled through the towering trees, the vibrant colors, unfamiliar sounds, and rich smells of the forest overwhelmed her heightened senses. Despite her pain, Zara couldn't help but be captivated by the tranquil beauty around her, a stark contrast to the cold, sterile environment she had always known. She wandered until she came across a small, rustic cabin hidden among the trees, desperate for shelter and rest. Inside, she startled the cabin's only occupant, a reclusive human artist named Eric. Though initially frightened by the purple-skinned alien before him, Eric's fear quickly turned to concern as he noticed her injuries and exhaustion. With a gentle touch, he tended to her wounds, offering her the first act of kindness she had experienced in a long time. As Zara healed under Eric's care, she began to see the world around her with new eyes. The forest, with its ever-changing palette of colors and the gentle whispers of the wind through the trees, stirred something deep within her. Each day brought a new discovery, a new sight, sound, or feeling that ignited a spark of creativity she didn't know she possessed. Eric, sensing her growing interest in his art, shared his passion with her. They spent hours together, sometimes in silence, sometimes in laughter, as he taught her to express herself through painting and drawing. As Zara's artistic abilities blossomed, so did her connection to this strange new world. She marveled at the simple beauty of a sunset, the delicate dance of light through the leaves, and the symphony of bird songs that greeted the dawn. Yet, despite the peace she found, Zara knew that her past was never far behind. Back on her home planet, her father, King Zarin, faced increasing unrest among his people, a rebellion sparked by Zara's defiance of his tyrannical rule. Desperate to regain control, he sent his most feared enforcer, Krace, to Earth with orders to bring Zara back, by any means necessary. Zara, now fully aware of the danger she was in, could not ignore the threat looming over her new sanctuary. One fateful night, the peace she had come to cherish was shattered when Krace found her. He stormed into the cabin with weapons blazing, determined to drag her back to her father. But Zara, driven by the need to protect the life she had come to love, unleashed a hidden power, her telekinetic abilities. In a surge of energy, she sent Krace flying across the room, giving herself just enough time to escape into the night. With tears streaming down her face, Zara fled, knowing she could no longer stay in the one place that had ever felt like home. She ran until she reached the city, a sprawling concrete jungle that was as alien to her as the forest once was. Alone and hunted, Zara used her telekinesis to create a makeshift shelter in an abandoned warehouse. But her heart ached with the loss of the life she had begun to build, and she knew she couldn't keep running forever. It was then that she found a new purpose in the vibrant art scene of the city. Inspired by the murals and street art that adorned the urban landscape, Zara began to create once more, pouring her emotions into sculptures that defied gravity and logic. Her work quickly gained attention, and soon she was known as Nova, the mysterious artist whose pieces seemed to come alive with an otherworldly energy. Yet even as her fame grew, Zara knew that Krace would never stop hunting her. Each new hiding place, each new creation, was a temporary refuge from the inevitable confrontation she would one day face. And when that day finally came, Zara was ready. With the support of the human friends she had made, Zara confronted Krace not with weapons, but with the power of her creativity. In a battle of wills and minds, she used her art to confuse and mislead him, buying herself the time she needed to finally take a stand. With the help of her friends, Zara devised a plan to turn the tables on Krace and his forces, using the city itself as her canvas. They created an elaborate labyrinth of illusions and decoys, transforming the streets into a disorienting maze that led Krace further and further from his target. And when the final confrontation came, Zara was no longer the frightened princess who had crash-landed on Earth. She was a warrior, an artist, and a survivor. She stood her ground, using every ounce of her strength and creativity to defeat Krace and secure her freedom once and for all. But victory came at a cost. As she stood amidst the wreckage of her final battle, Zara knew that she could no longer remain on Earth. The danger she brought with her was too great, and she could not bear to see her new friends suffer because of her. With a heavy heart, Zara left Earth behind, taking to the stars once more. But this time she was not running in fear. She was searching for a way to end her father's tyranny once and for all, determined to free not just herself but her people from his oppressive rule. And as she traveled from world to world, she carried with her the lessons she had learned on Earth: the power of creativity, the strength of the human spirit, and the knowledge that even in the darkest of times, there is always hope. Zara's journey across the stars was marked by both solitude and discovery. Each new planet she visited presented its own challenges, yet also offered her opportunities to grow stronger, both in her abilities and in her resolve. She encountered civilizations on the brink of collapse, torn apart by war or suffering under tyrannical rule, and each time she found ways to help them, drawing from the lessons she learned on Earth. Her reputation as a powerful yet compassionate wanderer spread across the galaxy, and whispers of her deeds reached even the most isolated corners of space. As she traveled, Zara honed her telekinetic powers to an unprecedented level. She could now manipulate vast energies, lift objects the size of starships, and even bend light to create illusions so convincing they could fool the most advanced sensors. But her greatest strength was her mind, sharp, strategic, and driven by a deep sense of justice. With each victory, she grew more confident in her ability to challenge her father's regime. Yet the thought of returning to Denobula, her home world, still filled her with dread. The memories of her father's cruelty, the cold halls of the palace, and the stifling conformity that suffocated her people haunted her dreams. Despite this, Zara knew that she could not delay the inevitable. The time had come to face her father, King Zaran, and bring an end to his tyrannical rule. She reached out to the allies she had made across the galaxy, rebels, outcasts, and warriors who had suffered under regimes like her father's. Together they formed a coalition, united by their desire for freedom and justice. They knew the risks, but they also knew that the fight for Denobula would be the most important battle they would ever face. The day of reckoning arrived. Zara's fleet, a ragtag assembly of ships from countless worlds, emerged from hyperspace on the outskirts of Denobula. Before them lay her home planet, now a symbol of oppression and despair. At the center of the planetary defense grid was Zaran's flagship, an imposing warship bristling with weaponry and protected by shields that could withstand even the most powerful attacks. Zara knew that a direct assault would be suicide. Instead, she devised a plan that played to her strengths: deception and creativity. Using her telekinetic powers, Zara manipulated the fleet's energy signatures, making them appear far weaker than they were. The Denobulan defenses, confident in their superiority, opened fire, but Zara's illusions led them astray, causing them to waste their munitions on phantom targets. Meanwhile, Zara and her elite strike team infiltrated the planet's atmosphere undetected, using cloaked ships to evade the sensors. They landed near the capital city, in the shadows of the palace where Zara had once lived. The city was a far cry from the vibrant, free place she had imagined in her youth. Its streets were empty, patrolled by heavily armed guards, and its buildings were drab, devoid of color or life. The citizens moved like shadows, their spirits broken by years of oppression. Zara's heart ached at the sight, but it also steeled her resolve. She had to succeed, not just for herself, but for everyone who had ever suffered under her father's rule. Under the cover of night, Zara and her team made their way to the palace, where they encountered little resistance at first. The guards, loyal to Zaran out of fear rather than conviction, were easily dispatched or convinced to stand down. But as they reached the throne room, they found themselves face to face with Zaran's most loyal enforcer, Krace. The brutal warrior had survived their last encounter and now stood between Zara and her father. The battle that ensued was fierce and unforgiving. Krace was a formidable opponent, his strength and combat skills honed by years of service to the king. But Zara had changed since their last meeting. She was no longer the frightened princess who had fled in the night. She was a warrior, a leader, and a symbol of hope. Drawing upon every ounce of her power, Zara fought with a ferocity that surprised even herself. She matched Krace's blow for blow, her telekinetic abilities amplifying her physical attacks. The throne room shook with the force of their clash, but in the end, it was Zara who emerged victorious. With Krace defeated, Zara turned her attention to the throne, where her father sat, watching the battle with cold, calculating eyes. Zaran's expression was one of disdain, but beneath it, Zara sensed a flicker of fear. He knew that his time had come. Zara approached him slowly, the weight of her journey heavy on her shoulders. She saw not the powerful king who had terrorized his people, but a man, old and frail, clinging to power he no longer deserved. "Zara," Zaran spoke, his voice a mixture of anger and resignation. "You could have had everything. You could have ruled by my side. But instead, you bring this. Chaos." "This chaos," Zara replied, her voice steady, "is what freedom looks like. It's what you tried to take from us, but no more." With a wave of her hand, Zara shattered the crown that rested on her father's head, the symbol of his reign. The metal fragments clattered to the floor, and with them fell the last vestiges of his power. Zaran slumped in his throne, defeated. The guards who had remained loyal to him laid down their arms, and the palace, once a symbol of tyranny, was filled with the sounds of liberation. In the days that followed, Zara worked tirelessly to restore peace and order to Denobula. She knew that overthrowing her father was just the beginning. Rebuilding a society that had been oppressed for so long would take time, patience, and a lot of hard work. But Zara was ready. She called upon the leaders of the rebellion and the allies she had made across the galaxy to help her create a new government, one based on the principles of freedom, creativity, and justice. Zara's reign as the new leader of Denobula was not without its challenges. There were those who resisted the changes, clinging to the old ways out of fear or self-interest. But Zara was relentless in her pursuit of a better future for her people. She encouraged the arts, education, and free expression, turning the once sterile planet into a vibrant hub of creativity and innovation. Under her leadership, Denobula began to heal, its people slowly reclaiming their identity and their pride. Years passed, and Zara's legacy grew. She became known not just as a warrior, but as a peacemaker, an artist, and a visionary. The coalition she had formed continued to thrive, bringing peace and prosperity to worlds that had once known only war and suffering. And though she had left Earth behind, Zara never forgot the lessons she had learned there. The memory of Eric, the human who had shown her kindness when she was at her lowest, remained with her always, a reminder of the strength and beauty that could be found in the most unexpected places. In the end, Zara's journey had come full circle. She had left Denobula as an outcast, but she returned as a leader, a symbol of hope for all those who had suffered under tyranny. Her story, one of struggle, growth, and redemption, would be told across the galaxy for generations to come, inspiring others to stand up for what they believed in and to never give up on the fight for freedom. As the years went on, Zara's influence extended far beyond Denobula, her reputation solidified as a beacon of hope and resilience. Her name became synonymous with the fight for freedom across the galaxy, and her leadership style, marked by compassion, strategic brilliance, and an unwavering commitment to justice, set a new standard for rulers everywhere. Denobula, once a planet of rigid conformity and oppression, blossomed under her guidance. The arts flourished in ways that had been unimaginable before, with galleries, theaters, and public art spaces popping up in every city. The rigid structures that had once defined Denobulan society were dismantled, replaced by a vibrant culture that celebrated individuality and creativity. Zara herself remained deeply involved in the cultural renaissance she had sparked, often working alongside artists, musicians, and writers to foster new forms of expression. Her role as a leader also demanded that she address the scars left by her father's regime. Zara established a Truth and Reconciliation Commission to give voice to those who had suffered under Zaren's rule. It was a painful process, but one she knew was necessary for the healing of her people. Survivors of the old regime shared their stories, and in return, they received reparations and the support they needed to rebuild their lives. Zara often attended these sessions, listening with empathy and ensuring that those who had been wronged were finally heard. But Zara's responsibilities weren't confined to Denobula. As the figurehead of the interstellar coalition she had helped create, she was often called upon to mediate disputes between other planets, or to lead missions aimed at liberating worlds still under tyrannical control. Her experiences on Earth had taught her the value of unity and the power of diverse perspectives, and she applied these lessons in every diplomatic encounter. Under her leadership, the coalition became a powerful force for good, spreading the values of freedom and justice across the galaxy. Yet, despite all her achievements, Zara never lost sight of her roots. She remained grounded, often returning to the quiet places that had shaped her, like the secluded forest on Earth where she had first met Eric. It was there that she found solace and renewed her sense of purpose, away from the demands of leadership. She would sit among the trees, listening to the wind rustling through the leaves, and remember the man who had shown her that even in the darkest times, there was always a light to be found. In time, Zara's vision of a galaxy united in peace and creativity began to take shape. Worlds that had once been at war joined together in a spirit of collaboration, sharing their knowledge, culture, and resources for the greater good. Technological advancements flourished, driven by the free exchange of ideas across borders. Trade routes expanded, linking distant planets in ways that fostered mutual understanding and respect. The galaxy was not without its challenges, but the sense of possibility that Zara had ignited kept the coalition strong. However, Zara's journey was far from over. The galaxy was vast, and there were still many places untouched by the coalition's influence, many people who had yet to taste the freedom she so passionately believed in. She knew that as long as there were worlds suffering under oppression, her work would never be done. And so, with the same determination that had driven her from the beginning, Zara continued to push forward, leading by example and inspiring others to join her in the fight for a better future. In her later years, Zara began to pass on her knowledge to the next generation of leaders. She mentored young diplomats, warriors, and artists, instilling in them the values that had guided her throughout her life. She knew that one day, she would no longer be there to lead the coalition, and she wanted to ensure that the legacy of freedom and creativity she had built would endure long after she was gone. Her protégés admired her, not just for her wisdom and strength, but for her humility and her deep belief in the potential of every individual. As Zara grew older, she often reflected on the journey that had brought her to this point. She thought of the frightened girl who had once crash-landed on Earth, lost and alone, and marveled at how far she had come. She had faced unimaginable challenges, but she had also experienced the beauty of life in its many forms, through the kindness of strangers, the bonds of friendship, and the joy of creation. Zara knew that she had made a difference in the galaxy, that she had helped to build a world where people could live freely and fully. In her final years, Zara chose to step back from public life, passing the mantle of leadership to those she had trained. She spent her days in quiet contemplation, traveling to the places that held special meaning to her. Denobula, where she had started her journey. Earth, where she had found her purpose, and the many worlds she had helped to liberate. She was at peace, knowing that the galaxy was in good hands and that her legacy would continue to inspire generations to come. Zara's passing was met with an outpouring of grief and celebration. Across the galaxy, people gathered to honor her memory and to reflect on the profound impact she had made on their lives. Monuments were erected in her honor, and her story was told and retold, a testament to the power of one individual to change the course of history. But more than the monuments or the stories, it was the way she had touched people's hearts that would endure. Zara had shown the galaxy that even in the face of great darkness, there was always the possibility of light, and that through courage, creativity, and compassion, anyone could make a difference. And so, long after her physical form had faded, Zara's spirit lived on in the hearts of the people she had inspired. Her vision of a galaxy united by the ideals of freedom, creativity, and justice continued to guide the coalition she had built. And as new challenges arose, as they always did, the people of the galaxy looked to Zara's example and found the strength to face them, knowing that they too could be the change they wished to see in the world. As the galaxy moved forward, Zara's influence remained a guiding star, a beacon of hope that transcended generations. Her teachings became the foundation of a new era, one where the values of creativity, freedom, and unity were not just ideals, but the very fabric of interstellar society. Schools and academies across countless worlds taught the principles she had lived by, nurturing young minds to think freely, to question, to innovate, and to embrace the diverse cultures and ideas that made the galaxy so rich. The coalition that Zara had founded grew stronger, encompassing more and more worlds that had once been isolated or embroiled in conflict. Under the leadership of those she had mentored, the coalition evolved into a true galactic federation where planets large and small had an equal voice and where disputes were settled not with weapons, but with dialogue and understanding. This new federation became a symbol of what could be achieved when people of different backgrounds and beliefs came together for a common purpose. On Denobula, the cultural renaissance that Zara had sparked flourished beyond anyone's expectations. The planet became a hub of artistic expression, drawing visitors from all corners of the galaxy who came to experience its vibrant art scene and to be inspired by its innovative approaches to creativity. The once rigid society had transformed into one that celebrated individuality and freedom of thought, with art and culture at the heart of its identity. Public spaces were adorned with ever-changing murals and sculptures, and festivals celebrating the arts were held throughout the year, attracting artists and admirers from far and wide. But Zara's legacy was not limited to the arts alone. Her commitment to justice and equality had a profound impact on the political structures of the galaxy as well. The Federation she had helped to build was characterized by its transparency and its commitment to the rights of all beings, regardless of their origin. The old systems of power and privilege were dismantled, replaced by institutions that were accountable to the people they served. Zara's vision of a just and equitable society became a reality, and her name was invoked whenever leaders sought to uphold these values in the face of new challenges. In the years following Zara's passing, the galaxy faced its share of trials. New threats emerged, some from within, others from the far reaches of space. But each time, the people of the Federation rose to the challenge, drawing strength from the example that Zara had set. Her story was a reminder that even in the darkest times, hope could prevail, and that through unity and determination, any obstacle could be overcome. Her teachings on leadership, empathy, and resilience became a part of the very culture of the galaxy, guiding the actions of those in power and inspiring the people to hold their leaders accountable. On Earth, Zara's influence was particularly strong. The planet had become a thriving member of the Galactic Federation, its people proud of the role they had played in the broader struggle for freedom and creativity. The artistic movements that had begun during Zara's time on Earth continued to evolve, with new generations of artists pushing the boundaries of what was possible. The new Renaissance Institute, founded by Zara, became one of the most prestigious centers of learning in the galaxy, attracting students from every corner of space who came to study the intersection of art, science, and philosophy. Eric, who had been Zara's closest companion on Earth, dedicated his life to preserving her legacy. He wrote extensively about their time together, sharing stories of her courage, her kindness, and her unwavering belief in the power of the human spirit. His writings became a treasured part of galactic literature, offering insights into the mind of a woman who had changed the course of history. In his later years, Eric often returned to the forest where they had first met, finding peace in the memories they had created together. As time went on, Zara's story took on an almost mythic quality. She was remembered not just as a leader or a revolutionary, but as a symbol of the limitless potential that lay within every individual. Statues and monuments in her honor were erected on countless worlds, each one capturing a different aspect of her legacy, her strength, her wisdom, her creativity. Festivals celebrating her life were held annually, drawing people from all walks of life to honor the woman who had given them the gift of freedom. But perhaps the most enduring aspect of Zara's legacy was the way she had inspired others to believe in themselves. Her story was a testament to the power of one person to make a difference, to challenge the status quo, and to create something beautiful out of adversity. She had shown the galaxy that true power came not from domination or control, but from the ability to inspire, to uplift, and to bring people together in pursuit of a common goal. In the end, Zara's legacy was not just the changes she had wrought in the galaxy, but the hope she had instilled in its people. She had shown them that even in the face of overwhelming odds, it was possible to create a better world, one where creativity and freedom were the birthrights of all beings. And as the galaxy continued to evolve, Zara's spirit lived on in the hearts and minds of those who carried her vision forward, ensuring that her dream of a just and beautiful universe would endure for generations to come.